If your body has been feeling restless after 60, even in moments when everything around you is calm, there's a very specific reason for that, and almost no one ever explains it this way. Because this feeling is not random, and it's not something you simply have to accept as part of getting older. In many cases, it follows a quiet pattern your body has been repeating every single day, without ever calling your attention. Many women begin to notice this restlessness in subtle ways, not as something intense, but as something persistent, a sense that the body never fully settles, that even during rest there's something underneath, a slight tension, a quiet agitation, or a feeling that your system is never completely at ease. And because it doesn't come with a clear cause, it's often misunderstood, sometimes labeled as anxiety, sometimes dismissed as normal aging, and over time it becomes something you stop questioning, even though it continues to shape how you feel throughout your entire day. But here's where things begin to change. There is a very simple way to start recognizing this pattern, something that takes less than 20 seconds, but that can reveal what your body has been trying to show you for a long time. Because your nervous system leaves clues, not in obvious ways, but in small, consistent signals, and once you learn how to notice them, what once felt confusing starts to make sense. So in this video, I'm going to guide you through a simple 20-second test that can help you understand why your body feels restless, and more importantly, what that feeling is actually trying to tell you. Because once you see the pattern clearly, you stop feeling lost in the sensation, and you begin to understand your body in a completely different way. Step 2. As the years go by, your body doesn't just change physically, it changes in how it responds to everything around you, and one of the most important shifts happens in your nervous system, the system responsible for how you relax, how you process stress, and how easily your body returns to a state of calm. After the age of 60, this system often becomes more sensitive and at the same time, less efficient at fully switching off, which means that even when there is no clear reason to feel alert, your body may still carry a subtle background of activation. This is why restlessness can appear in such a quiet and persistent way, not as something intense, but as a constant undercurrent, where your body never fully settles, your breathing remains slightly elevated, and your muscles hold on to small amounts of tension without you realizing it. There are several reasons why this happens, including years of accumulated patterns, changes in how your body regulates certain calming signals, and even the way your daily habits have shaped how your system responds to rest and activity. Over time, your body can become used to staying slightly on, even during moments that are meant to be restful, and because this happens gradually, it starts to feel normal, even though it is not your body's most natural or balanced state. And this is where many misunderstand what they are feeling, because instead of seeing this restlessness as a signal, they see it as something fixed, something that cannot be influenced, when in reality your nervous system is still very adaptable, it simply needs the right kind of input to begin shifting again. What makes this especially important is that your body doesn't communicate this through clear instructions, it communicates through sensations, through patterns, through small signs that repeat themselves over time, and if you don't know how to read them, it's easy to feel like nothing makes sense. But once you begin to recognize that this restlessness follows a pattern, and that this pattern can be observed in very simple ways, you start to move from confusion to understanding, and that's exactly what this next step is going to help you do. If this way of looking at your body already brings you a sense of clarity, seeing it not as something unpredictable, but as something that can be understood and supported, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving this type of guidance. Step 3. Now that you understand that this feeling of restlessness is not random, but part of a pattern your body has been repeating, we can move into something very simple, but surprisingly revealing, a short test that can help you recognize how your nervous system is actually behaving beneath the surface. This is not a test you can get right or wrong, and it doesn't require any effort. What matters here is not performance but awareness, because the way your body responds naturally without interference is what gives us the clearest information. So before we begin, I want you to approach this with a sense of curiosity, not trying to change anything, not trying to relax more or do it better, just observing what is already there. You can do this sitting down, lying down, or even standing, as long as you feel comfortable and relatively still. And if possible, allow your body to be in a position where it doesn't need to hold itself up with effort, because the less physical demand there is, the easier it becomes to notice subtle signals. Now, for the next few seconds, you're going to bring your attention inward, not in a forced way but gently, as if you're listening rather than analyzing. The first thing you'll notice is your breathing, but instead of controlling it, simply observe it. Is it slow or slightly quick, deep or more shallow, steady or a bit irregular? because your breath often reflects the state your nervous system is in even when everything else seems calm. Then, without moving, shift your awareness to your body, especially areas like your shoulders, your chest, your jaw, or even your hands, and ask yourself a simple question: do they feel fully at ease, or is there a subtle sense of holding something small but present? And finally, bring your attention to your mind, not the thoughts themselves, but the pace of your mind. Does it feel quiet and settled, or is there already a gentle movement, as if your mind is preparing, anticipating, or continuing something from earlier? This entire process takes less than 20 seconds, but what matters is not the duration. It's the honesty of what you notice, because these small signals, when observed together, begin to form a very clear picture of how your body is functioning. Step 4. Now let's go through this test together in a more immersive way so you can experience it clearly without rushing, and without trying to change anything, just allowing your body to show you what is already there. Take a comfortable position wherever you are, and if it feels natural, allow your eyes to gently rest or soften, not forcing them closed, but simply reducing external focus so your attention can turn inward more easily. Now, for the next few seconds, do nothing except notice. Start with your breathing and observe it exactly as it is, without adjusting it, without deepening it, just noticing. Does it feel smooth and calm, or slightly uneven, perhaps a little higher in your chest than you expected, as if your body is maintaining a quiet level of alertness? Stay there for a moment, just observing, allowing your breath to reveal its natural rhythm. Now shift your attention to your body, scanning gently without moving. Notice your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, and even your hands, and ask yourself, is everything truly relaxed? Or is there a subtle holding, a quiet tension that you might not have noticed before? Pay attention to the smallest details, because often this tension is not strong, it's subtle but consistent. Now bring your awareness to your mind, not to the content of your thoughts but to their movement. Does your mind feel still and settled? Or is there already a sense of activity, a gentle forward motion, as if something is already beginning before you've even decided to act? And finally, ask yourself one simple question: does your body feel at rest, or does it feel like it's quietly preparing, as if something is about to happen, even though you're not doing anything? This entire process takes no more than 20 seconds, but the combination of what you just noticed, your breathing, your body, and your mind, creates a very clear signal. And that signal is what we're going to interpret next, because once you understand what these patterns mean, that feeling of restlessness begins to make sense in a way it never has before. And if, throughout this process, you notice something new, something subtle but familiar, it can be very helpful to express it in words. Therefore, share in the comments what you experienced during this test, whether it was tension, mental activity, or that quiet feeling of alertness, because recognizing these patterns is often the first step to understanding and modifying them. Step 5. Now that you've gone through the test, the most important step is not to judge what you felt, but to understand what it means, because your body was not trying to pass or fail, it was simply showing you its current state in a very honest and direct way. If your breathing felt slightly shallow, irregular, or higher in your chest, this is often a sign that your nervous system is not fully at rest, even when you are still, which means your body is maintaining a subtle level of alertness in the background. If you notice small areas of tension, especially in your shoulders, jaw, or chest, even if they seemed minor, this is another indication that your system has not completely released, that it is holding on just enough to stay partially active rather than fully relaxed. And if your mind already felt in motion, even in a gentle way, as if it was preparing, anticipating, or continuing something without effort, this suggests that your mental activity is not fully settling either, contributing to that underlying sense of restlessness. What's important here is that these signals rarely appear alone. Most of the time they come together, forming a pattern, and that pattern tells us something very specific. Your body is not fully switching into a restorative state, it is staying in a kind of in-between mode. Not fully active, but not fully relaxed either. And this is exactly where that feeling of restlessness comes from, because your system is not finding a clear place to settle. It's constantly adjusting, holding, and preparing, even when there is nothing you need to do. Over time, this becomes your baseline, something that feels normal, even though it quietly affects your sleep, your energy, your ability to relax, and even how present you feel during the day. But here's the key point: this is not a fixed condition, and it's not something your body is doing randomly. It is a learned pattern, one that has developed over time, often without you noticing, and because it is learned, it can also be gently unlearned. This is where many women feel a sense of relief, because instead of seeing this restlessness as something permanent, you begin to see it as something understandable, something that follows a logic, even if it wasn't clear before. Step 6. Now that you understand what your body is showing you, the next step is to look at what keeps this pattern in place, because restlessness doesn't come from a single cause. It is usually the result of small, repeated signals that your body has learned to follow over time. One of the most common patterns is what we could call constant low-level activation, where your body never fully turns off, not because something is wrong, but because it has adapted to staying slightly alert throughout the day, and eventually even during moments of rest. This can come from years of responsibility, routines that required attention, or simply the habit of always being mentally engaged, where your mind continues to process, anticipate, or prepare, even when there is no immediate need. Another pattern that often goes unnoticed is the lack of clear transitions between activity and rest, where the day flows directly into the evening, and the evening into the night, without a moment where your body is guided to slow down, which makes it harder for your system to recognize when it is safe to fully relax. There is also the way your breathing and posture have adapted over time, often becoming slightly more restricted, more shallow, or more held, especially if you've spent years in subtle states of tension, and this sends a continuous signal to your nervous system that it should remain partially active. And perhaps the most important of all is the habit of ignoring these small signals, because when restlessness is not understood, it is often overlooked or pushed aside, which allows the pattern to continue without interruption. What makes all of this challenging is that none of these patterns feel extreme, they feel normal, familiar, and even invisible, which is exactly why they persist. But once you begin to recognize them, something shifts because you are no longer reacting to the feeling, you are understanding the structure behind it, and that creates space for change. And if this way of looking at your body is helping you see things more clearly, if it gives you a sense that what you're feeling has a reason and can be understood, taking a moment to like the video is a simple way to support this kind of content, helping it reach other women who may be experiencing the same patterns without realizing what's behind them. Step 7. Now that you've seen the patterns and how they show up in your body, we can finally connect everything into one clear explanation. And what you're about to understand often brings a sense of relief because it replaces confusion with clarity. The real reason your body feels restless is not because it is failing to relax, but because it has learned to stay in a constant state of partial readiness, a kind of in-between mode where it never fully lets go, even when there is no real need to stay alert. Your nervous system is designed to move between two main states, one of activity and one of deep rest, and ideally it should shift smoothly between them depending on what your body needs, but over time, especially after years of subtle stress, responsibility, and continuous engagement, this transition can become less complete. Instead of fully entering a state of rest, your body begins to hover between these two modes, holding just enough activation to stay prepared, and just enough relaxation to keep functioning, but never fully settling into either. This is why you can feel restless even when you're not doing anything, why your body doesn't fully relax even when you try, and why your mind may continue to move gently in the background, as if it's always waiting for something. It's not a lack of rest, it's a lack of depth in rest. And this distinction is important because it changes how you understand the problem. Your body is not refusing to relax, it simply hasn't received the right signals to feel safe enough to completely let go. Over time, this becomes your new normal, a baseline where rest feels incomplete, where calmness feels temporary, and where that subtle sense of unease becomes part of your daily experience. But the moment you understand that this is a learned state, not a fixed condition, everything begins to shift, because what has been learned can be gently retrained, not through force but through consistent supportive signals that guide your body back into a more complete state of rest. Step 8. Antes de apresentarmos isso como algo que você possa começar a aplicar. Esse tipo de explicação está ajudando você a entender o corpo de uma maneira mais clara e reconfortante. Inscreva-se no canal para continuar recebendo esse tipo de orientação. Now, when it comes to shifting this pattern of restlessness, the most important thing to understand is that your body doesn't respond to force, it responds to consistency, to small signals repeated over time that gradually teach your system that it is safe to fully let go. So instead of trying to fix everything at once, the first step is much simpler. It's about creating small moments during your day where your body can experience complete rest, not just physical stillness, but a true absence of demand. This can begin with something as simple as sitting quietly for a few minutes, without engaging your mind, without reaching for distractions, and allowing your body to feel what it's like to be still without needing to prepare for anything. At first, this may feel unfamiliar or even slightly uncomfortable, and that's completely natural because your system is used to staying active in subtle ways, But with repetition, these moments begin to feel more natural, and your body starts to recognize them as safe. Another important element is your breathing, not forcing it, but occasionally bringing awareness to a slower, softer rhythm, especially allowing your exhale to extend gently, because this sends a direct signal to your nervous system that it can begin to release that constant background tension. You can also begin to create clearer transitions in your day, small pauses between activities, moments where you allow your body to shift from doing to resting, instead of moving continuously from one thing to another without interruption. What matters here is not how much you do, but how often you give your body these signals, because over time they begin to accumulate, gradually retraining your system to move out of that in-between state and into a deeper, more complete sense of rest. And as this begins to happen, what you may notice is not just a reduction in restlessness, but a different relationship with your body, one where you feel more at ease, more grounded, and less carried by that constant, subtle tension. This is not about eliminating the feeling overnight, but about creating the conditions for your body to change in a way that feels natural, sustainable, and truly supportive. See you in the next video.